Welcome back. This is Quit Your Diet, Think to Shrink, and I'm Michael Dawson. Quick note here, quick side note, as we start to get into the depths of this course, remember it's not about quitting your diet straight away. It's about that 14-day rollout. So I just want to make that clear. I might not have done it at the beginning that we've got to roll out that 14 days, wait for D-Day and practice and use all of the tools in this course in the meantime. In this session, I'm going to talk about a thing called ME&A. Now, it's a kind of thought experiment of mine that will help us to understand not what our weight problem is, but where our weight problem is. Some years ago, I was sipping a coffee in central Manchester in the United Kingdom, and I grabbed my usual. I found a stool near the window which overlooked the main pedestrian area of Manchester. So from here I could see this usual kind of busy, bustling city centre on a Saturday afternoon. And there was also a big issue seller outside across the street. And for those of you who don't know, the Big Issue is a magazine that's sold by the homeless on the streets of Manchester and other cities across possibly other countries, as far as I'm aware. I don't know, but it's sold by homeless people, and the idea is to give the homeless the opportunity to make an honest living by selling the magazine on the streets. As I'm sat there sipping my small black Americano extra shot, I became fascinated by the scene outside. So it was a little bit like a silent movie where I couldn't hear anything, but could see the faces of passers-by, and I could interpret their emotions and expressions. So I could see that this homeless guy selling this magazine would joke with people. He'd say something and people would laugh. He'd do little dances for the kids, in the pushchairs and things like that. And I could see that everyone who passed him went away with a smile on their face, whether they bought a magazine or not. However, he was clearly selling a considerable amount, noticeably more than average. And some people simply just came straight up to him as if they were kind of regular customers. And they would pass the time of day and ask him how he was doing and all that kind of thing. So I finished my coffee and I was in the car traveling home. And I couldn't get this guy out of my head. He's got talent, he's got gall, he's got the gift of the gab. And yet, by definition, he was homeless. And this puzzled me a little bit because I started to think, what would happen if we put this guy in a suit and got him off selling timeshares? Do we still have timeshares? I don't know, sorry. But okay, well, suppose we get him selling homes or cars in a showroom. So watching that afternoon, I thought he'd do pretty well. But instead, he was here selling the Big Issue. Now, I know there could be all kinds of reasons for that, but this was the spark of an idea, and I called it ME&A. So, ME&A is similar to DNA. By now, we all know what DNA is. It's the genetic code. It contains all the information to build us, the perfect, and unique you and me. And my version was called ME&A because in my mind, it was our mental DNA. And I decided that it's this that allows us to achieve or not achieve what we want. It's our makeup, and basic to some extent, I believed that the homeless man's ME&A would not allow him to succeed doing the same thing at a much higher level. It's not as if the actual idea is revolutionary. I understand that. I'm presuming that he was doing what he was doing because of his mental code, or his instruction manual was set to a different setting. He was set to homeless mode. And this whole idea will become priceless as we dive further into the course and add it to the piece of genius NLP thinking that I'm going to talk to you about in the next video. Just as a side note, I remember Duncan Valentine from Dragon's Den I read his book and he said, drop me anywhere in the world with no money and I will find a way of making money and doing well. You can see almost a me and A that's the opposite of this guy. So me and A is parallel to DNA in a lot of ways. For a start, we get our DNA from our parents over generations. And the same is true of me and A along with friends, life experiences, teachers. Our me and A doesn't change ourselves, but it acts like a little blind driver in our heads, a little robot telling us what risks to take and those to avoid. And it tells us what we might or might not be capable of. So here's a poem I came across many, many years ago. No one knows who wrote this. It's called The Robot. I have a little robot that goes around with me. I tell it what I'm thinking. I tell it what I see. I tell my little robot all my hopes and fears. It listens and remembers everything it hears. At first, my little robot followed my commands, but after years of training, it's gotten out of hand. It doesn't care what's right or wrong or what is false or true. No matter what I try now, it tells me what to do. Anonymous. So there you go. It's an interesting idea, or the poem's another interesting idea about that me and A thing. I'm determined that every success or the time we overcome the challenges comes down to me and A, the internal monitor that looks at us and how we fit into the world. This is the thing. It doesn't have to be so dramatic that it drives us to succeed, to climb Everest, to run 100 miles in a single day or win gold at the Olympics. It works every day in your ordinary life, but it's a kind of double-edged sword, and it's got negative and a positive side. This also applies clearly to our weight loss journey, or any change journey for that matter. If we could work on our me and A, and we could change it, and everything else becomes automated, me and A has already created everything around you right now. And you're already doing a lot of those automated things. Your life is your life as far as you're concerned. And this makes sense when we start to look around at those people who effortlessly take risks, win that promotion, find success in everyday life. And dare I even cheekily say, that boss, that manager that just ain't as good as the job as you are. I think a lot of this is down to the me and A. Just like everything that exists in your life right now, you can do your job, be with that husband and live in that house, but it's pushing it to this next level that's harder. During a managed weight loss journey, it's the same thing. Our me and A might need reprogramming because it might have the wrong inputs. It might be working with the wrong data. It might have mistakenly helped you to believe a whole series of lies. What if that's not true at all? What if we can change that programming? By the end of this course, I'm going to rewrite that poem for you. And we're together going to look at some of the most powerful reprogramming tools out there, because we've been listening to that little robot for far too long, and it's time to make some changes. So keep that me and A in mind and listen out for those voices and lies, because in the next video, I'm going to share with you a thought model that will supercharge this idea in our change journey. Why those diets and exercise programs come up against so much inner resistance internally, whilst other people just take them in their stride. That is my concept of something I call me and A, and the next video is going to add to that. My name is Michael Dawson. This is Quit Your Diet, Think to Shrink. Thanks for being there. I'm going to see you in the next video.